Order, please. Honourable members, order. Honourable Maimane, just a minute. Honourable members, please take your seats.
You are singing for supper.
Honourable members. Please proceed, Honourable Maimane.
Madam Deputy Speaker, President and Deputy President, honorable members of this House, Bagaetsu Dumelang. Mr. President, I think today marks 35 years since the release of President Nelson Mandela, an emblem that reminds all of us of hope, courage, and justice. It is these features that we must remind ourselves of in times such as this one as we confront massive geopolitical threats. Mr. President, your injunction for us not to be bullied is an important one. I want to urge, Mr. President, there are times such as this one we must remind ourselves to remain united as a nation. When others at this moment, when another murder takes place both in the farm and in the streets, we must remain united. When others say to all of us that the demand for justice as espoused in our Constitution is put on the table, we must remain united. When ultimately, Mr. President, there are those who seek narrow interests and find voices from elsewhere, we must remain united. And ultimately, Mr. President, when the hopes of one become the fears of another race, Mr. President, let us build one South Africa, for we must remain united. Ultimately, Mr. President, I listened with great caution to your speech. It was filled with much promise. But, Mr. President, I think we need to use Thursday as an opportunity to move from state of the nation to state of performance. There's a biblical injunction that says this, that a house built on sand cannot stand. Our foundations are in trouble, Mr. President. In all reality, when you look at the MTSF that was tabled, 25% indicates the achievements of the last MTSF. Here, Mr. President, we can't pass at 30%. We need a better performance on the next MTSF. Mr. President, our economy has been growing at 1% and social spending now consumes 60%. I want to urge that our debt is at 5.2 trillion rand, 74% of GDP. If we are going to show that we are serious, our foundations in building must remain strong. Mr. President, you highlight education as a success. I don't disagree with you on the path of the class of 2024. But I also want to remind you, Mr. President, that were we to pass our young people at 50%, 29% of matriculants were past matric mathematics at 50%, only 30% passed physical science at 50% or more. This is an indicator of the fact that we are going to run short of the skills of the future. So, Mr. President, here's where I want to offer serious partnership. On the first instance, if you really want to see growth, let's cut waste. Let's ensure that we have the cabinet. And if we want 4,000 more police detectives, I say reduce the cabinet and fund the police. On the second instance, let's improve our transport infrastructure. On the third, if we are serious about fighting corruption, Mr. President, the SIU and the NPA are performing at 48% capacity. Let us bring this up to 100% and remove the corrupt elements from either cabinet and also at local government. Lastly, Mr. President, where there are institutions that are not performing, let us merge them so that we create SOEs that can deliver for all South Africans. If this is the year of anything, it must be a year of action. And Mr. President, I implore you, if we are going to be serious, let us build and let us build one South Africa together. I thank you very much.
Honourable members, the next speaker on the list is the Honourable Zungula, but I do not see him. Honourable Zungula.